Okay, part 2, chapter 14. Let's continue. Now, how to get rid of risk? Risk is inherently a bad thing. We have three types of people when dealing with risk. People who are normal, like most people, they are risk averse. They don't like risk. For example, if I tell you, which one do you want? Do you want $100 just paid to you right now in cash? Or do you want me to use a lottery system and pay you $100 if your name comes up? Everyone would say, I want the $100. That's for sure. That's the $100 that I'm going to get 100% compared to the $100 that I'm going to get for 50%. So one of the oldest ways to get rid of risks is diversification. We all heard the term, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's diversification. Every language, except for Turkish, I think, has this saying that don't put all your eggs in one basket. And in Turkish, I talked to a Turkish friend of mine, they have this saying that don't bury all your eggs in the same hole for some reason. They still have it, just a little different. So it's a universal way to diversify, to risk reduction, to reduction of risk, to achieve reduction of risk, to diversify. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. For example, you have $10 billion. Congratulations. Now you want to invest that money. What would you do? Would you just buy the stocks of one single company? No, you would diversify. There's a story about Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or all the rich folks. Steve Jobs, for example, he created, he co-created the Apple Corporation. Apple was one of the most successful business enterprises in the history. But then, when he was super rich, he sold his shares in Apple, a large portion of his shares in Apple. And then he bought shares in Walt Disney and other companies, I don't remember exactly. So he diversified his shares over all these different sectors to be able to protect himself from risk by replacing a single risk with a large number of smaller, unrelated risks. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Another thing about diversification is the idea about a single payer healthcare. Why would people say the only way to achieve healthcare is to have all other healthcare systems abolished and have one single payer service all over the country for everyone? That's the case. Because if I say, okay, the government lets you keep your insurance, your healthcare insurance, but then only those people who can't afford or who don't want private healthcare insurance can come to me and I give them healthcare insurance. That healthcare will be super expensive because you have a small number of people who, because of certain reasons, couldn't get private healthcare. So these are probably high-risk individuals or low-income individuals. But then, if I tell you that I'm going to take away your healthcare, take everybody's healthcare, and put them all in one basket, that's a single player, I can diversify the risk all over the country. That's why certain groups advocate for taking away other people's healthcare and give everyone a single universal system for everybody. Risk standard deviation measures the volatility of a variable. What is the standard deviation? If you remember from your statistics, we have first mean or average. You put all the, for example, the grades of this class. Let's say your midterm grades were all like 90, 95, 100, 92, 90 something. And then I added all your grades together, 95 plus 100 plus 90, all so on and so on. I reached a number. Then I divided all these, the aggregate value over your total number in the class, and I have your average number, which is, let's say, 95. That's the average. The standard deviation is when I want to see how people are far away from the average. On average, this is a very important factor. When I want to see how is this class super close to the average, or do we have some people far away from the average? Because let's be honest here, if your average is 95, this could be your grades, 95, 190, or this could be your grades. It could be 80 and let's say 125 or something. This is a problem for me as a teacher. I need to know the standard deviation of your grades, because then I have to look at this 80 here. This person needs help. There's something going on here. And then this person 125, the exam is too easy for this person. I need to find a way to, bring them down. I don't do that. Just joking. So this is a different story than this. This is like, okay, everybody is on same level. Some people got lucky. Some people couldn't prepare enough last night. That's all right. But this here is a different story. Standard deviation is when I put everybody's grade. Let's say your grade is alpha. I deduct it from the mean, your average, which is called mu. And then, because some people have more than average and some people have less than average, and I don't care about that. I just want to know how far you are away from the mean. I take them all to the power of 2 to have the positive value representing your distance from the average. And then add them all together, divided by the number of students in the class. This would be my standard deviation if I square root it, and then there's something else. Standard deviation, it gives me a measure of the volatility of a variable. Risk of a portfolio of stocks. You have a basket. You have 100 shares from Apple, 100 from Microsoft, 100 from Boeing, 100 from Ford. All these put together depends on number of stocks in the portfolio. The higher the standard deviation, the riskier the portfolio. If I tell you, you have 500 shares, 100 belongs to the Apple, 100 Boeing, 100 Ford, 100 General Motors, and 100 to my grandma's new business, which is opening up a hotel in the South Pole. That's pretty scary, because my grandma's business in the South Pole is kind of tricky. Although my grandma could pull it off, I'm pretty sure she can open the biggest tourism enterprise in the South Pole, call it like Penguin Corporation or something like that. But on paper, that's pretty risky. You get terrified. The higher the standard deviation, the riskier the portfolio. You would say, okay, these other 4 are pretty close. Yeah, Boeing seems like problematic. General Motors, Ford certainly has some problems, but then they're comparable. But then you have Had's grandma far away into the risk. That's a big standard deviation. You have a riskier portfolio. But if I tell you, okay, just forget about my grandma's tourism industry, she will finance her business with her own money. She doesn't need your investment. And you only have the 4 corporations left. Now your standard deviations are much smaller. Everything is much closer to one another. Now it's more manageable. Diversification reduces risk. Risk, standard deviation of a portfolio return. More risk, less risk. Number of stocks in the portfolio. As you can see here, as we add more stocks, we lower the risk. The more different baskets you divide your eggs in, the less risk you have to deal with. Increasing the number of stocks in a portfolio. Again, each one of these stocks is, let's say, an egg. The more you diversify them, you put them in different baskets, the less likely you would lose them all. If suddenly one of these baskets fall and the eggs would break, then you would lose a fewer number of eggs. Same goes for stock exchange. If you diversify your investments, the chance that one of these companies would go bankrupt and you lose your money or enter financial, they don't need to actually go bankrupt. They just enter a bad period and you lose your investment will be lower. Same goes for the insurance companies offer you healthcare or automobile car insurance. If I have like two people, let's say two very dangerous drivers, my dad and my sister. My sister used to be, not anymore. She's a really good driver now, but when she first started driving, boy, you didn't want to be on the road. Right now, my dad is the problem. Actually, it's a national security issue back home. When my dad is driving, you have to send in the army to clear the roads and everything. If you have only these two folks on the road, it's dangerous. But then if you add more drivers and more drivers, the risk is lower because all these drivers will pay me some money as insurance fees. Then one of these people, one of these drivers, which is my dad, definitely is going to crash into somebody in the next few days. Okay, I'll compensate using other people's money. But I only have my dad as my only client, and he goes onto the road and immediately starts crashing into people because he never looks in what's in front of him, then I'll be bankrupt. I'll be bankrupted super quick. So, diversification, every time there's a risk, try to diversify. Also, health insurance. Let's say if I give you health insurance for all students in this state, I'm the Student Blue Health Care Service. Now you have people like me who will only go to the doctor every 5 years and there's like serious issues. You have people who are very worried about their health. They always want to go do checkups. You have people who have really weak immune systems, who are constantly sick, or with pre-existing health condition, like some people who are born with weak hearts or liver problem or lung problem or all these other things. And if you put all these folks together, it's manageable for the insurance company. But imagine this, tomorrow morning, all NC State students at the same time get sick. Then the insurance company will go bankrupt. The insurance company, when it comes to us paying for our insurance, for our student health insurance, thinks about this. Only 1% of these folks will get sick every day. I can pay for the doctor fees using the money that they paid me, and I walk away with a healthy profit myself. But then what happens if all of these folks get sick at the same time? Then I'll go bankrupt. The more people you add, the less likely you have that kind of situation. This figure shows how the risk of a portfolio, measured here with the statistic called the standard deviation, depends on the number of stocks in the portfolio. The investor is assumed to put an equal percentage of a portfolio in each of the stocks. Increasing the number of stocks reduces but does not eliminate the amount of risk in a stock portfolio. So diversification of firm-specific risk can eliminate firm-specific risk, cannot eliminate market risk. Assume you play by the rule, you diversify all your investments, but then the whole market crashes. Something like the coronavirus we have today. No matter which company you invested your money, you still have to suffer the market risk. You never know. Some guy may get sick halfway across the world. It would quickly spread all over the place. Next thing you know, the whole world economy is canceled. And you have to watch your teacher on the YouTube. Which brings me back to say this. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm officially a YouTuber right now. We still have the market risk. If we diversify, we can eliminate the risk of one company losing money or going bankrupt or having problems, but we cannot eliminate the risk of the entire market breaking down. Now you can diversify over multiple markets. You have some money invested in the Wall Street Stock Exchange. You have some money invested in housing. You can have some certain houses. Like I have $10 million worth of stocks invested there. I have 2 houses that would sell for like $5 million. I would have, let's say, $1 million invested in gold and currency market. You can diversify across different markets. Firm-specific risk affect only a single company. Market risk affect all companies in the stock market. So you can diversify on a higher level in order to get rid of the risk in one market, or not. You're never going to get rid of risk. You're going to lower it. You can diversify it over all different markets, many different investment markets. Example, 2 types of assets. Diversified group with 8% return and 20% standard deviation. Safe alternative would be lower risk, lower reward, 3% return and no standard deviation. The trade-off, the more a person puts into stocks, the greater the risk and the return. So the higher the risk, the bigger the reward, the possible reward, the potential reward. That's the beauty of it. Now, when we talk about the standard deviation, this is the standard deviation from the mean of the returns. So you have like 10 companies, one of them is doing very successfully, well above the average, 8%. The other one is much lower than the average 8%. And you never know which one is going to work. So safe alternative sometimes works best. Depends on your strategy, depends on your money. You would never probably invest all your money in a diversified group with high standard deviation. You would always have some certain low risk, low reward investment plan as well. The trade-off between risk and return, as you can see, return percent per year and risk, standard deviation. Your return, your expected return would increase as your risk goes up. When there is no standard deviation, you're taking no risk, you're playing it safe, your expected return is 3%. But as your standard deviation gets to 20%, your expected return would be 8%. So as you take more risks, the more potential rewards. When people increase the percentage of their savings that they have invested in the stocks, they increase the average return they can expect to earn. But they also increase the risks they face. Now, when we say expected or average return they can expect to earn, that's how much you expect to come back to you. using previous data. For example, let's say expected value. When we talk about expected value, if you as a student got straight A's in all your courses before, I would look at your GPA now, and I would expect you would get an A in this class as well. Now, you may just absolutely destroy it and just get a C. That would be extremely hard. Let's be more realistic. Get a B from this class. But then, that's highly unlikely. Most probably, a person who got a straight A's in all her courses before will probably get A in this class as well. On the other hand, if you got B's in all your courses before, that means you don't really care about the difference between B and A, so you're not going to work as hard to get an A. I'm expecting you to get a B in this class as well. Now you could actually have like a epiphany or something, like a miracle or an image happens to you and suddenly change. I didn't change when I was in undergrad, but you could change. I'm not saying change is not possible, and you could come up with an A plus, or you could just be who you were before. But then my expectation is based on your previous behavior. Asset valuation, fundamental analysis, study of a company's accounting statement and future prospects to determine its value. Very important. When I want to find out if this company actually worth its stock price, I would have to actually look at what these guys have and then see what they're producing. Is what they're producing really interesting enough on the market? Is the demand for their product so high that these companies will actually end up making profits and profits and profits? If you watch the movie, Tom Hanks, was it? Oh my God, my memories. Forrest Gump. I can't believe I forgot Forrest Gump. If you watch the movie Forrest Gump, he says after my shrimp business exploded and I become a shrimp millionaire or a billionaire, Lieutenant Dan invested some of my money, diversified my money by buying the stocks of a fruit company. That fruit company was Apple Corporation. At that time, if you look at Apple Corporation, you would say, yeah, these guys are making computers and gizmos, and yeah, they're pretty weird. But today, Apple Corporation is the most successful, one of the most successful economic enterprises throughout all history. So if you at that time, if you look at their numbers and you saw, wow, these guys are doing good. Every year they're selling more and more and more, and people will be attracted more to their products. By the look of it, technology is also growing all over the world. People are having this thing called the internet, which is going to be huge probably. So you could have seen that in 30 years, folks would be liking cat videos on Instagram and deriving utility from it. And therefore, they would pay large sums of money for their smartphones to be able to like cat videos on Instagram. That this is a huge business. Of course, I'm making it seem light, but it's a huge business. Study a company's accounting statement. See if they're actually making money now. See if they have something, or is it just all leverage? All everything that they owe is just money to other folks. Okay, I owe $10 million to that guy, $50 million to this guy, $10 million to that bank, $5 million to this bank, and everything I have is like $10,000. Then you're done. You're bankrupted. Good luck. But then, if my accounting statement showing some really good number, and I also use my brain, you look at the future prospects of that corporation. Is their business very successful? Does it have a future? Then I would determine its value. One very good example for future prospects is Uber. Uber is a very strange phenomenon right now. Every time they're actually losing money. Uber is not making profit, they're losing money, yet their stock price is quite high. Why? Why would people want to be part of something that's constantly losing money? Because of the future prospects. This could be wrong. This could be that Uber is just scamming everybody out of their money by just showing up all these fancy AI self-driving robots and everything like that, things like that, super high-tech stuff. Well, in fact, they're just a huge taxi company who just phones and calling people to go there, pick that guy up, while making no money. Or it could be something huge. It could be something of a game changer in the next 20 years. Uber could probably transform the way human transportation works, not only in passenger transportation. We could be talking about cargo transportation. We could be talking about self-driving trucks in 20 years. Right now, I used to work with a lot of truckers. Right now, these guys can only drive for 8 hours. Now, if the truck is double drive, you have two drivers in the same vehicle. One would drive for 8 hours, then the other one would take over. The other one, the first driver would go in the back and just take a nap or watch TV or whatever. But still, they need to fill that 8 hours sleep in a rest area. That when they arrive somewhere, the police would actually want to look at their numbers. Did you have enough sleep, or were you been driving the whole time just to make the trip and make more money, risking everybody else? I've seen when I've been driving, I've seen truck drivers who were just sleepy and just moving right and left. And that's exactly a thing. When you're driving at night, especially, and you want to pass these truck drivers, it's good to give them a high beam or just honk your horn. At least in Iran, that's the case, because some of these guys could be tired. But if you have self-driving cars, self-driving trucks, that could revolutionize the whole transportation industry. That could be electric trucks constantly moving all over the country 24 hours a day. That could change everything. It could, wow, just think about it. Now, stocks are underpriced if the price is lower than the value. One very good example is eBay Corporation. The guy who founded eBay went public and sold the stocks of his company. But the company who first analyzed the price of this eBay corporation, the stock price of this corporation, made a huge mistake in their calculation. This guy, the eBay guy, could have been one of the richest people on earth right now. But he lost like hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, something like that, a crazy amount of money because the company made a mistake. The price they found for its stock price was lower than the value that people were willing to buy and sell on the market. It could be overvalued. It could be a bubble if price is more than the value. It could be just hyped. For example, we all have that one friend constantly telling us, man, you need to be investing in cryptocurrency right now. That's crazy. You need to be investing in cryptocurrency right now. I have those friends constantly bothering me like, please, I'm doing this for a living. The risk is too high. That's too crazy. Yes, if you had bought some Bitcoin 10 years ago, right now you would have made a lot of profit, but no one could have known that. Today, don't do it. The risk is too much. I need to look at the numbers. I don't get hyped so easily. But then still, I have friends. I have friends who are actual scientists constantly telling me, buy cryptocurrency, buy cryptocurrency, buy cryptocurrency. And I keep telling them, it doesn't work like that. You can't get rich overnight. So stock price is overvalued, if price is more high, price is higher than the actual value, it's just hyped, it's a bubble. Or what we really want to see is fairly valued, when price is equal to the value of the company. Get a quick break. See you in 5 minutes.